Welcome, welcome. Oh my goodness, there's old friends here. Come, Alexei, it's Moso. It's so good to see you. It's
Ah,
been
Coach
years
Day.
since we've been in the same space together. Welcome,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
We are really glad that you're here. As you can see, we are in meeting mode, and so we can you can change your view to the speaker view when we get started so that you can see our speakers and not have to see the whole gallery. We will have a time of questions and answers. And if you'd like to go ahead right now and briefly introduce yourself in the chat, you can do that. And then once we get started, we're going to go ahead and disable the chat, and then we'll turn it, we'll enable it for questions and answers after we hear from our speakers. So how does that sound? It's good to see you all today. We had about 45 or 47 folks registered, so some people may be coming a little later. Just glad to see you all. It's good to be together. Yeah, feel free and to put your who you are and your pronouns and the land that you're on in the chat, and we'll save the chat so that we, can
By the
uh,
way,
capture you all.
yes.
Yes.
Mhm. No,
Okay,
no.
we will ask you to mute when we get started. I can help you mute if you need me to do that. Phil or I can. So it's good to see you all. Welcome, welcome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? Just, oh, look, I am loving the people who are coming on to the Zoom. Susan Lawrence, who I haven't seen in a long time. So many friends who are joining us today. This is just wonderful. We're so glad you're here. And again, welcome to the Interfaith Coalition for Earth Justice. This is our Advancing Earth Justice speaker series. This is the third and that's a fabulous doggy. This is the third in our series. The Interfaith Coalition for Earth Justice serves the San Diego County region, congregations, people of faith, people of moral conscience, to live out our values of economic and climate justice. So Phil will talk a little bit more about ICEJ and what we're doing. I'm Reverend Dr. Beth Johnson. I'm the chair of the Interfaith Coalition for Earth Justice. My pronouns are she and they, and I am the minister at Palomar Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and I am up in Vista, which is North County. For those of you in San Diego, you always act like it's another country, but it's really not that far. It is the land of the Luiseño and the Kumeyaay, so it is good to be together. Once again, this is recorded. So if you don't want to be on camera when we're in gallery view, then you're going to want to go ahead and turn off your camera. We're going to go ahead and after we do our introductions of our speakers, and we're going to go ahead and disable the chat, and we'll put that back on because we're going to have a good substantive question and answer period. So I just want to welcome you all. It's good to be together. I am very excited to introduce our speakers this evening. The Reverend Dr. Larry Ward, Dr. Peggy Rowe are the founders of the Lotus Institute, and they will tell you more about that. Dr. Peggy is a joyful spirit who enables her students to discover and embody their most authentic and creative selves. She offers a path of deep insight through methods such as movement, writing, art, and ritual and deep soul. Peggy has her doctorate in education, her master's in counseling psychology, and she co-authored Love's Garden, A Guide to Mindful Relationships. It's right here on my shelf, and I should have brought it to hold it up. She's taught in graduate schools of social work, psychology, counseling psychology. Her doctoral research is in dream work. She has a private therapy practice for many years and offers consultation and spiritual direction as well. Dr. Larry Ward is also a senior teacher in the Buddhist Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh's Plum Village tradition. He also is the author of America's Racial Karma, which I also have on my shelf and am not holding up for you, and also co-author with Peggy of Love's Garden. Dr. Ward brings 40 years of international experience in organizational change and local and community renewal to his work at the Lotus Institute. He holds a PhD in religious studies with an emphasis on Buddhism and the neuroscience of meditation, and is trained at the Trauma Resource Institute. Dr. Ward taught classes at Claremont Graduate University and the University of the West. As a teacher, Dr. Ward interweaves insights and personal stories with resounding clarity and expresses his Dharma name, True Great Sound. Deeply inspired by Dr. King and Thich Nhat Hanh, they have committed their lives to nonviolent social change, healing, and transformation at all levels, from individuals and communities to the global scale. Their background in Buddhist practice, service work, psychology, corporate coaching, education, trauma resiliency training, and somatics creates a powerful dynamic for healing and change. And on top of that, they are my favorite people on the planet. And so I'm so grateful that they've decided to join us, and so grateful for their presence here and for their service and their teaching. So welcome, welcome, Dr. Peggy Rowe and Dr. Larry Ward. And we are going to go ahead and begin with Peggy. Just a reminder, you can go ahead. I'm going to pin Peggy, Dr. Peggy, but you can make sure you're in gallery, you're in speaker view so you can see them. Okay, that's it for me. I am going to stop talking and let you all take on.
Okay, thanks Beth for the wonderful introduction. Thanks Phil and Beth for getting us going, and thanks for inviting us into your home. We're in Querétaro, Mexico, and the Naga people, although there's many ethnic groups in this area, very many. I heard there's 12 different languages where we're living. She, her pronouns, and I think Beth said it twice in the beginning, it's so good to be together. And if there's going to be any cliff note from tonight, it's the importance of being together like this, the deep gift of being together. So I want to start with some grounding and check with your body to see if your body would rather sit, stand, or lie on your back. This is your first assignment. I'm going to stand tonight because Lord knows I don't want to lie on my back. It's 2 hours later where I am. Yeah. So this is your first check-in with your body. Hey, body, how are we doing in this moment? And for those of us standing, just really rock back and forth a little bit to feel the plumb line that runs through you, the center. If you're in your seat, in the chair, really get a sense of the tripod of support of the chair. Those legs that hold and root and ground you into the earth. If you're on your back, still notice your feet, but also notice all the places that your body connects. So yeah, just settle in, checking in on soft knees, soft belly. I'm just really aware of the whole imprint of your feet. Again, it's a little harder if you're on your back, but you still can do it. In yoga, this is called the mountain posture or Tadasana. And really see if you can feel the tada that's in Tadasana. There's a lift Some of that's the energy that's running through us, earth to sky. So tune into the vertical dimension of your body, earth to sky. Breathing in and breathing out, and just notice what you notice. And I always notice that I feel a little taller, and my heart feels a little bit more lifted, and my shoulders drop just a little. Just being with your body and your breath just as you are in this moment. And the horizontal energy that runs through us, where the seams, the side seams of the body. And this is our connection with people and animals and plants and minerals. And this is our connection with each other. See if you can just feel that. This connection we have. It's energetic, not just technology. Soft breath, soft belly. And then aware of the depth of our body, the front and back side. And I like to tip back and forth a little bit if I'm in my chair or standing, to feel the whole back side of the body. Good, and notice what you notice. I like to imagine just the soft touch of my ancestors on my shoulders. But culturally, we tend to be more on the front side of our body, so to really lean in. Okay, now check in. There's a body here. Aware of the shape of your body and the space that you take in the room. And aware, are you safe? Do you feel safe right now? It's a good question to ask ourselves and then to acknowledge. Am I comfortable? Am I present? Noticing what you notice with that beautiful breath. Has it changed any? Maybe, maybe not. see if I have. Okay, one more thing, and I'm just wanting to do little shoulder rolls. See what your body would like to do that would make it feel even more here. I have one more thing I want to introduce for grounding I call the French press. It probably has a big fancy name, but this is for grounding. So we just open our arms wide, breathing slow, feeling the stretch, and then bring our hands down with the fingers facing with breath, slowly, like a French press coffee pot. Breathing. Okay, we're going to do that 3 times, but first notice what you notice with the 1 French press. We're going to do that again. Stretch, breathe, breathe, breathe. Reach, touch the sky. Come on down to earth. Soft belly, breathing. And then 1 more. Again, this is for grounding, grounding. Okay, now just stand just a second again. Tune in. What do you notice? This is about when I always notice I've got a shoulder that's higher. That's okay. So offer a bow to each other, and Larry will be up next with a poem. But thanks for your practice. If you need to shake it out or brush it off, that was good French press.
Hello, beloved ones. I want to begin with a poem for you. I am the earth, even when I wake up crying. These are the earth's tears. Even the ocean of suffering belongs to her. I am the earth speaking to you now, and you are the earth listening with your precious ears. I am the earth walking through my doubts and my fears and my sadness and my loneliness and my suffering and my potential. But I am also the rain falling and the birds singing. with joys to bless the day and the night. I'm getting washed all over by my tears and my hope as the rain continues to fall. I am celebrating the miracle of every earth breath, every earth sigh, every earth smile, every earth hug, every earth touch of kindness as they bring me home to deep justice. I am the earth, and so are you. I am honored to join with you at this time. I see you at the forefront of the revolution and humanity's ethics. I really continue this whole time we're in regarding both human justice and earth justice, which to me are counterparts of one another, as a moment of profound evolutionary maturation in human consciousness, in human thinking, human speech, and human behavior. I'm so glad you were there. I call the time we're in right now the time of the apocalypse moon. And what I mean by that is the language of the apocalypse, which we can see in the news and literature, is often misunderstood because it's only understood as destruction, when the actual earlier definition of apocalypse is revelation. Apocalypse means what has been hidden is no longer hidden. We are having to face the shadows of our earthly existence as human beings, no longer hidden. And our potential for doing things differently is also no longer hidden. Earth justice for me has many faces, but one heart. There's a great small book by a woman named Ruby Gibson, an indigenous teacher, and the title of the book is My Body, My Earth. And in the book, she tries to help the reader understand how our own bodies manifest the earth patterns and how the earth patterns manifest in our own bodies. And of course, the big shift we all are aware of, that the earth is a living organism and not a scientific construct. It's not a scientific construct. It's not a grocery store. It's not a mine. It's a living planet. And our education and our religious history has, for whatever religion almost, has really misled us. We still tend to be, addicted to the vertical, to the up and down, which is an important aspect of our humanity. But because over the centuries we've been so addicted to the vertical, we neglected the horizontal. We neglected people, animals, plants, and minerals. And they lay to waste in our adolescence of being human. We are in a metamorphosis of human consciousness, which you are part of. We are discovering that we live now in a universal localis, meaning every location is everywhere. What happens in Iran now happens everywhere. What happens in Dallas happens everywhere. We live in a universal localis. And what is powerful about that is wherever we are, we can influence the whole. If we bring our attention wisely to our local situation, our local circumstance, whatever that may be, personally or professionally, or community or congregation wise. But also this new shift from seeing ourselves as like storekeepers of the earth. I am the earth. And so are you. The women I ran are the earth. So for me, all we have to do is look at the injustice we lay upon humanity and just turn the mirror around, and we will see the same pattern of injustice we lay upon the earth herself. Or we can look the other way around. We can look at how we lay waste to the earth, take it for granted, leave it unloved and unprotected while we try to profit. And then we can turn that mirror around and see how we do that with humanity and all other species. The other part of this new might not be the right word, because whatever new will change. So this shift that I'm aware of is it has to do with coming into a cosmic sensibility of who we are. I've really appreciated Neil deGrasse's work and his new book on Starry Messenger about what it means to realize where we live, upon what we live, and how we are nourished and cared for by this planet, and have been for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. For me, every day I practice with the elements of the earth, with the creatures of the earth, of which I am one, and the birds, and every morning I spend time listening to the sounds of the world. And I hear the bird song, but I also hear engines and automobiles starting up, but they have not yet drowned out the bird sound. Even here in this million-person city where we live, we are surrounded by birds day and night, singing us into joy, if we care to listen. So learning how to listen somatically to our experience of the earth, so that our perception of being separate from the earth can vanish. There's a great story from the Hindu tradition. A student had been in retreat for 6 months. He finally got to go to ask the question to the teacher. And his question was, how should we treat others? And the guru was silent and then said, what others? This is the shift. In true justice, there is no otherness. There is wholeness. There is usness in true justice, because it's not simply an idea. It's a lived experience of our precious life, or we've been so conditioned to be okay with innocent suffering, to ignore tragedy after tragedy that we create. This is not all about the weather, people, though I do think the earth is talking to us, and we have got to learn how to listen to the waters, to the fires, to the desert, to the dark and to the light, and learn how to observe ourselves as creatures on this planet, not as overlords. The more I practice with the elements of life and the creatures of the planet, the more I I realize I'm not all that. Or another way, there's a great Hindu mantra, Om So Hum, which is in meditation, when I recognize the bird, I recognize I am that. I had an experience this week. We had a small bird we found in our little fountain that was drowning. And so we rescued it, put it in a basket to help it dry out and recover. It did not recover. So we've had the bird here for like 3 days, sitting in the basket in the front yard. And for me, it became a wonderful meditation, because every time I looked at the bird, I could see I am that. I am that. And I am that without fear, without shame, without regret. I am that, blessed with having a life and a death on my hand. Earth justice to me is true love. It is not simply social action. It is witness, it is justice, and it is presence of true love. The love of loving treating the earth with kindness. That's a practice. Every day I can check and see if I am treating my encounters on this earthly plane with kindness, no matter who or what that might be I encounter. Compassion, universal compassion. Every day I spend time being in touch with the suffering of others around the world, so I'm not confused, and so that my heart can break a little bit every day, more open. The next one of this love is, this is a Brahma Viharas in Buddhism, but is shared joy. We have not learned how to share our joy with the earth. We have not learned how to share the earth's joy. Sometimes it happens to us under a waterfall and we realize, oh my! But the bird, the mouse, the fox, the bear, the hawk, the tree, the mushroom, all share an earthly joy that we can participate in if we dare to open our bodies and minds to that level of awareness and experience. And the last aspect of this love is equanimity. Evenness, to work with ourselves so we're not reactive, is what the first thing this means to me. So that we are, Thich Nhat Hanh likes to say, go through the world like you're a lion or a lioness. Be in charge of yourself so that you can point your precious self in the right direction. Even when you fall off the path, you fell, which is the secret of being on the path, in case you didn't know. Anyway, I think this love is what we're missing in the world. Look at the world through the glasses of where have people and places been loved and where have they not been loved. When I look at the news, I look at it through those eyes. How is it possible to ignore the suffering of the people in Yemen? And that's just another note in a day of chaos and suffering around the world. Spend some time every day, even if it's only once, being in touch with the suffering of others. That's especially important in this culture where we are conditioned to be preoccupied with our own discomfort. And discomfort is part of life. and there's not much more to say about it except learn how to be uncomfortable. If you do not, you cannot grow. This is what I have learned. You cannot stretch. You cannot. Can you imagine 200,000 years ago our ancestors sitting around talking about whether they should evolve or not. whether they would have a vote on whether they should continue to exist. This is preposterous. In Buddhism, this state is called living in a thicket of views. We live in a culture worldwide of opinion and domination. And the discomfort many of us are experiencing is our old structures of domination are being revealed for what they are. Criminal, and I could go, and this is true globally. Really, really tragic waste of human creativity, life. Now, I heard there was 23,000 people involved in creating the Webb telescope, which I keep trying to encounter every day. And, you know, we used to think the universe is a lot smaller than we realize now. And it took 23,000 people to create that. And my first thought was, after I got over the awe of the experiences, well, why don't we get another 23,000 people and have them create a different school system? We are not in lack of talent, people, or capacity. We are blocked by our unprocessed trauma and by our addiction to ideology. If we break through these formations in our mind, we can discover, I'm certain we can discover, I'm gonna do a turn on a phrase from Carl Jung. He wrote a book long ago called The Undiscovered Self. And so it's been a study companion, practice companion of mine for many years. And after a while, I realized the undiscovered self is the undiscovered society. What we are capable of discovering in ourselves is what is possible for society. And it's also true the other way. What we are capable of discovering in society should elevate us all, should enhance us all. The last thing I'll say, earth justice requires that we rethink. You know this already, I'm preaching to the choir, I feel like that, I used to say at my church. But we need to rethink what it means to be human. We need to remount the slope of thought on what a society is. What is a good society? We need to repair the places that have not been loved. And we need to start with that in ourselves as individuals. We need to have a spiritual practice that is wide enough and deep enough to help us heal the places in ourselves that have not been loved, so we can recognize the places outside of ourselves that have not been loved. And the same is true with love, to recognize where we have been loved in our lives, and then carrying the energy of that awareness into our interactions with everyone in every life around us. Earth justice is true love. And to me, that is the revolution we are in. We're trying to shift from true domination, true defense, true big gorilla in the room mindset to true love. And we have designed our societies not for true love. We have designed them for greed, for hatred and ignorance. And there's always a little of that in every society, but to have a whole system all organized around what is unhelpful and creates suffering constantly, without a doubt, is madness. And so the invisible uniform you're all in that says earth justice on your heart is not a joke. This is more than political. This is actually a evolutionary revolution in the human experiment. And this is why it is worth your calling, your best. As long as you take care of yourself so you can keep giving your best and you can keep nourishing your divine calling. Thank you.
Larry and Peggy, thank you so much. I'm just going to have us breathe together for a moment and let the body work and the talk work on us. And I invite you to see what questions emerge. In a moment, we'll enable the chat, give you an opportunity to ask questions in the chat. We'll keep an eye on that, or to raise your hand if you have a question. And Peggy and Larry, what I want to tell you is, as this time has unfolded, here in, at least in North San Diego County, thunder has been rumbling. The skies have opened and poured rain.
Yeah.
The healing rain is falling down.
Oh, stop.
The healing rain. And I'm not afraid.
No.
So thank you for this. And thank you, Earth, for the rain that we so badly needed here. If you have a question, please put it in the chat or go ahead and use the icon, under the reaction button. You hit that, it's a ribbon at the bottom of your screen, and you can ask a question. And if nothing emerges, we will sit together. Phil,
I'm going to ask you to move up, please, to the computer.
go ahead, and if you're not muted, I'm going to go ahead and mute folks until it's time for you to speak. Phil, go ahead.
Okay, so that was so rich. Maybe partly we're so quiet. It feels like we've had this very, very rich meal that you sort of just need some time to really digest. But I do have a question for Larry. You talked about each day, getting in touch with the earth and people's suffering, the suffering of people on the earth, the suffering of the earth a little bit. How would you recommend we do that? What do you do to do that?
I got you muted there.
Okay, thanks, Phil. It's a great question. So I do several things every morning. I have a routine I've developed over the years that I keep learning and adding to as I learn and grow. The first is I begin my day with what's called in Buddhism the 5 remembrances as a meditation practice. And I do this practice before I get out of bed. I do it while I'm still lying in the bed before I put my feet on the floor. And the 5 things I remember is I'm of a nature to grow old. I'm of a nature to have ill health. I'm of a nature to die. I'm of a nature to experience a loss. And I am a nature to experience the consequence of my own action. And over the years, when I first started doing this many years ago, I thought it was just about me. And then the more I did it, the more I realized that's everybody's life. It's not a personal possession. And so it grounds me in my humanity every morning. And then I go outside and sit and first thing I do is I try to experience wonder. And I usually do that with the birds, who seem to know I'm out there with them, and their choruses and their songs. And so, and the flowers, when I water the flowers, the same thing. I try to nourish the sense of wonder at being on the earth. And then I go look at the news. The sequence is very important because I see something different when I look at the news after nourishing my own sense of wonder, my own sense of it's a miracle to have a planet at all that we can live on. And when I see the news, it's partly we don't know how to live here. That becomes clear. I mean, it's more complicated than how we describe ourselves. We have yet to figure out how we all live together on this planet. And every news item says that to me. And so that nourishes my aspiration for earth justice in that way every day. And, you know, I have a journal, I make notes. Sometimes a poem flies by and I can catch it, but I try to make my whole day, one way or another, a day of spiritual practice, but it's all small things. It's no big, my latest practice is practicing with the natural elements that happen every day, the dark, the light, the fire, the water, etc. You know, the primal elements in Chinese Buddhism and in Buddhism in general and other traditions and cultures around the world, from Arabia all the way through Europe, etc. So this doesn't take great effort, is all I'm trying to say.
Or a lot of time.
Or a lot of time. It's about the quality of my consciousness. And I remember a great teaching I learned as I was doing my neuroscience work, that whatever the mind focuses on, whatever our brain's neurons focus their attention on, our mind takes the shape of that focus. And, you know, when I first started realizing that so scientifically, I say, oh, that's Buddhism, Yogacara. But it is scientifically grounded and neurologically observable. And that shape of the mind is the ground of our thinking, our speech, and our behavior. So it really matters what we pay attention to and for how long. So that's basically how I try to keep myself sane.
Thank you, Larry. Reverend Sherry has her hand up.
Thank you both, Larry and Peggy. So first, a comment. I am so glad I came on this Zoom because at 6:30, in a little less than 45 minutes, I am facilitating a Zoom course on a discussion on Sister Joan Chittister's book, Two Dogs and a Parrot, How Our Animal Companions, or What Our Animal Companions Teach Us About Life.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So you just fed me so that I can open my heart and feed the participants. So with that in mind, that you spoke a lot about Earth and our animal companions, what informed your practices or your consciousness to animals and the Earth? Anything in particular? And I'm thinking particularly for our young people. You know, maybe what would draw them, do you think, to have that kind of consciousness?
It's as I look back, it's been coming. A lot of my work internationally around the world in villages, in rural areas in Africa and India, in Latin America and Asia and Europe, etc., all had animals everywhere. And a great saying, we used to be on the van drivers in Kenya, the matatu drivers, and matatu was never full. So if you had a goat that needed to get on the matatu to get into town with you, the goat came on the matatu. But I took, it went to another level when we lived on a farm. We lived on a farm on Woodby Island, thanks to the graciousness of a friend. And we were surrounded by other farms and wildlife coming into the yard, big wildlife and little wildlife and slugs everywhere. And I loved it. And I found that everything I encountered could be nourishing for me. The grass, the smells, the sounds. And then we had, luckily, we were able to have our own farm later. There was 2 acres and we had deer families growing and birthing in the yard. And it was just, yeah. So it's experiential is all I'm trying to say.
I want to add one thing, and that's I work with kids and I work with trauma, and kids, well, an animal is a way to connect with kids, and kids recognize that people, we're not so perfect, but that animals have a way of being able to love and greet in this way that catches the heart and the innocence. And I know when I was a little girl, when my family was upset, I slept in the doghouse. Yeah, that was one of the stories about me growing up. You too. Yeah, that's one of the stories. I was like, that's a good story.
It's a safe place.
That's a safe place. And so for me, animals have been a safe place my whole life. And it's easy to work with kids with that. That's how I've gotten kids out of dark corners. Either a horse, a cat, a dog, or a rabbit seems to be the way. But yeah, I think it's natural and in us. It's really natural.
Well, I have a question. This is for you, Peggy. Can you say some about your somatic approach, your trauma-informed somatic approach, and earth justice, and how, not to be repetitious, but how you embody that and how that informs your work?
I have a few minutes here. I think the last decade or so, our work has been first to help us all learn how to self-regulate our nervous system, followed by co-regulation, and followed by creative imagination with co-regulation. But it begins with self-regulation. And so self-regulation begins by learning about this body and the language of the body and the sensations of the body. We worked with kids, when I was a kid growing up, the alphabet was around the classroom. A, B, in script, and you remember that, Beth? But anyhow, that we had words of sensation that the kids would add to so that we could teach that early on, and we didn't get to learn that. So, but it's a small section of the library is sensation language. So I just learned I had to learn how to bring it into my body, or else I got hijacked by my nervous system. Hijacked by my fear, hijacked by my anger, hijacked by the population. So yeah, it's just been a long time coming, beginning with a lot of yoga, but even more so taking more time to go in depth. Anything you want to say about that too? Because Larry's work, we've really changed the corner the last decade or so, with body being the first in Buddhism, it's the first foundation of mindfulness. But a lot of teachers skip it.
Or don't.
Or they say, okay, it's the body. Well, we got to go a little slower. We got to take our time with the body. We got to slow down. We're used to living a short distance away from our body.
Well, as that evolved over Buddhist history, there are meditations on the organs, on the processes of our breath and our liver and etc. and our liquidity in our body. But what's happened in the last 25 years in particular for me, when I did my neuroscience research for me always involves practice. So I would apply what I was learning in neuroscience and integrating it into my meditation practice. And it really empowered my own understanding of the value of the practice, because what I discovered in myself is there were parts of my mind, let's say it that way, that were not available to be healed until my body was self-regulated. Otherwise, I lived my life in the fight-flight system only. And when I got tired of fighting and running away, I went into immobilization. I collapsed. and the more I learned about this, I realized the structure of the modern world is designed to keep us in fight or flight or immobilization. Our nervous systems are fried, trapped, and triggered. And so unless we learn how to regulate ourselves, we cannot create a society together that is not pure chaos.
Especially the work that you're all in, where it's so easy to get activated. The research, the statistics are terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So what are we going to do? But learn how to come home to ourselves so that we can co-regulate with others, and we can do this work together. And in the meantime, at least if we can be an island of sanity like tonight, that great nourishment can occur for us so that we are strengthened to go back out there where it's hard. At least it is for me. And I think we have 3 minutes left. Does that mean we're out of time, Miss Reverend Beth?
Nope. I think we can take another question. I saw Catherine had a hand and then the hand disappeared. So I don't know if you want to go ahead.
There's Catherine.
Yeah, you came back. Why don't you go ahead? I think we have time for that question.
Okay, hi. Yeah, and this is more of a, I'm sorry it's not a question, but it's just I'm kind of sitting here a little starstruck by the synchronicity, because this morning, I literally was just listening to an incredible podcast that's put out by Sounds True, and it was all about nourishing your nervous system. And the whole focus of the podcast was on the importance of our being able to regulate, and that this is a huge part of our navigating these incredibly turbulent times that we're living through right now. So, and it's just such a random chance that I happen to be on this call, because my mother has been participating in these calls, or has occasionally forwarded an email to me. Her name is Lois Knowlton, and she shared with me, oh, this is one I can't attend, but you might enjoy it. And so it just happened to work in my schedule today. I live here in San Diego, and then this is my wonderful dad, Roger, sitting next to me right now. So thank you, Peggy and Larry. I just absolutely am eating up everything that you shared this evening. And it's just confirmation that this is what I'm called to work on in this next phase of my life. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to add one sentence about the practices. Our ancestors learn how to do this stuff, trial and error, experimental, mostly through ritual, dance, drumming, artwork, etc. And we lost that. We turned it into something separate from our daily life. Yes. And so it's not that the trauma research stuff the research is new, the confirmation in science is new, but the process of doing it is old as humanity itself.
It is. I just got goosebumps all over me hearing you say that.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight your word about eating it up. And this is what we're also wanting to do as an island of sanity, is to create good nourishment that strengthens us and calms our nervous system and helps inspire us and give us hope. And so this is the food And I think it's my teacher's 90, Thich Nhat Hanh would have been 96 today. And he does continue, but his big thing for what we needed for our future was to really be aware of our nourishment, of the
Yes.
nutriments we were taking in.
Yes,
And so
so
thank you.
important.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing your nourishment, Catherine.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't realize it was his birthday. How auspicious that
Oh,
you could be here on that special day. I I can't thank you enough for the gift of your presence and your wisdom, not only tonight, but globally. You have nourished us tonight, but you have nourished people all over the world. And those seeds are watered and are bearing fruit. And so thank you. I wonder, Larry and Peggy, if you'd like to say a word about the Lotus Institute and anything that's coming up. And then Phil is going to talk about some upcoming things for ICEJ. So do you have anything you want to share with us?
So I would just suggest visiting our website, www.thelotusinstitute.org. Our bios are there, our programs are there, the recordings of talks, there are meditations there, and our upcoming schedule for retreats in the U.S. We have a retreat series coming up in Minneapolis. We have one coming up in Colorado. We have one coming up in Oklahoma.
Yeah, but I think we do a free talk once a month, and you can sign up and then get a recording if you miss it. So that we do a meditation and a talk, and we're working with Larry's new book called Be Not Afraid. And that's working with the elements, water, earth, fire, air. So those are free they're Wednesday nights, and you have to sign up to get the recording.
Well, and we got a taste of that today, didn't we? In Larry's talk and in your embodiment too. That's great. Thank you. I put a link to the website, the Lotus Institute website. I put that link in the chat. And now, Phil, did you want to let folks know some of what we're doing at ICEJ? You are muted, my friend.
It's funny, I unmuted myself. So anyway, whatever happened. Yeah, so, this is amazing because to me, the whole thing of ICEJ is focus on the spirit. And maybe that's almost too thin a word, but, and then action, those two pieces. And so what I've highlighted in the chat there is 2 action things that you can think about. Everybody that's on this call. The first is actually a 3:50 event, but tomorrow morning early from 7:45 to 9, we will have a protest at Sempra headquarters. Sempra is an energy company based here in San Diego, and they're essentially a fracked gas infrastructure company. And the problem with frack gas, I don't want to belabor this, sorry, I'll make it quick. It's methane, and methane is a very potent greenhouse gas. So it's not a good transition fuel. So we will be saying that directly to them with the protest. And then the other event is taking our faith to the streets, just transition from fossil fuels to climate justice. And that is an ICEJ event, which will happen Monday, October 24th at Wells Fargo. So this is again connected to climate justice because the big banks, including Wells Fargo, are loaning huge amounts of money to the fossil fuel industry, which undergirds almost all of their efforts. And so to tell them, hey, you need to stop doing this, basically, that's the bottom line, is really, really important. And we will hold a vigil there and a press conference, and we will be delivering a set of demands to Wells Fargo. And that will hopefully then continue to unfold as a longer campaign. So I hope you can join us for one of those or both of those events. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as just an aside, at Palomar UU Fellowship in Vista, we'll be hosting the Sacred Earth and Healing Arts of Tibet tour on the 19th from 4 to 6, the monks will be doing an empowerment. And it's one of the ways that they do the fundraiser for the Gaden Shartse Monastery. So I just slipped that in there, Phil. Yeah, wonderful. Well, gosh, Peggy and Larry, thank you so much. If you would like to come off mute and share some love with Peggy and Larry, you can say thank you or whatever you want to do, and just give them our love and our appreciation for sharing this beautiful time. And we'll look forward to having you come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Conversating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
So much.
Thank you so much.
It was beautiful to be with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Great to
joining
see you
us.
all. Bye, Lekshay. Great to see you, Lekshay.
And we'll see you soon, we hope.
Good too.
Take good care.
Everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
And all my great 350 friends. See you tomorrow.
Yep. That's beautiful.
Right, you see people get a little bigger. It's nice to get you bigger. Okay, now we can see.
Yeah. Go full screen and you can, and now, yeah, people go and we get bigger, right?
Yeah, we get
Like a
bigger.
beautiful quilt. This is a beautiful quilt of folks.